Welcome to the Circular Economy Show, where we discuss the ins and outs of the circular economy. My name is Colin.
And my name is Laura, and in today's episode, we're going to be looking at the clothes we wear and the buildings we live and work in. So let's go. In this episode, we are diving into the world of jeans. We'll find out how we can redesign jeans for a circular economy. We'll also learn about the latest insights from the Foundation's Jeans Redesign project, and we'll even hear from some of the participants.
And then we'll find out more about Arup's Circular Buildings Toolkit and ask some of the big questions on circular economy and the built environment.
So let's get started. How do we redesign jeans so that they are fit for a circular economy? Here is Jules from our fashion team to explain.
Jeans are an iconic product. Almost everyone owns at least one pair. But, much like the rest of the fashion industry, the way we make them today creates waste and pollution whilst contributing to the climate crisis and biodiversity loss. So, how might a pair of jeans be designed and made for a circular economy? Watch this video to find out more about how to apply the principles of a circular economy for fashion to jeans, where products are used more, they're made to be made again, and they're made from safe and recycled or renewable inputs. So, first, jeans are used more. This means both designing jeans to last longer and offering jeans to customers via new business models like rental that help increase their use and help businesses generate revenue without making more clothes. So what does that look like? Durability. Jeans are designed and manufactured to last as long as possible. Redesigned jeans must meet the same durability requirements as linear jeans. Things like tear strength and colour fastness, even after being washed 30 times. Fabric mills like Black Peony and brands like Good American and Triarchy are already going beyond that and testing for 35 home laundries. Care labelling. Brands and garment manufacturers are empowering customers with information on the jeans about how to care for them, including reducing washing frequency, washing at low temperatures, and avoiding tumble drying. Brands are increasingly implementing services like collection or take back, as well as circular business models like resale and repair to keep jeans in use at their highest value and increase the amount they are used in their overall lifetime. Secondly, jeans are made to be made again. Today, the way our clothes are designed and made rarely considers what will happen to them after we finish using them. Jeans and their materials and the components must be designed and manufactured to be disassembled, so then they can be reused, remade, or recycled after maximum use. To ensure materials can be recycled at their highest quality and value, garments made out of a single material should be prioritised and aligned with available recycling technology. Here, the key design unlocks include designing and manufacturing jeans from the material composition to the hardware components added, like zips, buttons, or rivets, so that they can be disassembled, reused, remade, or recycled. Let's take metal rivets as an example. They're difficult for recyclers to remove, and as a consequence, large parts of the upper fabric of jeans are cut off and typically landfilled or incinerated. Many brands are removing metal rivets to eliminate this waste by design, and are innovating to substitute rivets with bar tacks, which is what the jeans I'm wearing have, and other design solutions which include reinforced stitching or embroidery techniques. H&M has developed a standardized library of circular bar tacks to utilize across jean styles. Brands and manufacturers can ensure it's easy to identify redesigned jeans for recycling during the stages of collection and sorting by providing accurate information on jean labels or QR codes. And finally, jeans are made from safe and recycled or renewable inputs. This means that substances that are hazardous to health or the environment are designed out to allow for safe material circulation and ensure that no pollutants are released into the environment during production and after use. As well as that, production is fully decoupled from the consumption of finite resources. This means prioritizing the use of post-consumer recycled content from garment-to-garment recycling, and then, where virgin input is still needed, is from renewable feedstocks sourcing using regenerative farming methods that have nature-positive outcomes. Here, it is important that actors in the value chain, including mills, manufacturers and brands, meet the minimum criteria on phasing out toxic substances and processes. Brands, manufacturers and mills can ensure they use recycled content in their fabric and jeans. Chloe, Triarchy and Levi's are including high percentages of post-consumer recycled content from 87% to 40%, while still meeting other circular design requirements such as durability. And finally, brands like Reformation use cotton fibres with nature-positive outcomes. And in the last 2 years, there's been a hub of activity by brands towards regenerative sourcing. Manufacturers and mills have also initiated future collaborations to be able to source fibres with nature-positive outcomes in the future, so denim can regenerate nature by design. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation's Jeans Redesign project was launched in 2019 and has shown that redesigning jeans is just the starting point on the journey to a circular economy for fashion. By getting started with this iconic garment, brands have redesigned up to 100% of their jeans portfolio to be fit for a circular economy and are starting to apply these principles to other garments like jackets, chinos, and bags. Circular design can become the norm. The solution pathways are clear, but without systems change, the progress that has been made to redesign products will not be fully realised.
So we've got an idea of how we can redesign jeans based on a vision of a circular economy for fashion.
So we have been joined now in the studio by Natasha from the Foundation's Jeans Redesign project. So Natasha, some people in our audience might be familiar with the Jeans Redesign project, but could you give us a summary of what this project is all about?
Sure, and thank you for having me. It's great to be here. The Jeans Redesign is a project that we launched in 2019, and it was set out to be a starting point for the fashion industry to get started on their journey to a circular economy. So in 2019, we had organizations coming to us asking, how do we get started? We know what we need to do, but we don't know how to get going. So we locked 80 industry experts in a room together. And together there were NGOs, academia, designers represented in that group. And by the end of that working session, we had created a set of common definitions, and then that turned into the set of Jeans Redesign guidelines that we launched the project with. And then a group of participants signed up to come on the journey with us. And at the beginning, they didn't know how they would make jeans fit to be for a circular economy. And now here we are 4 years later, we have a larger group that have been on this journey, and we're excited to share the insights from that.
And this is the second iteration of the Jeans Redesign project. So what's new and different about it now?
Yeah, so it is the second. So the first one was 2019 to 2021, where we launched the last report. And in that group, we had 72 organizations coming on the journey with us. Then in 2021, we updated the guidelines with the second report. We made them a bit more ambitious. We raised that minimum bar based on the progress made by the participants. And then we also grew the group. So we went from 72 to 100 organizations. And they're now 2 years on, 2021 to 2023, have been working away to design and remake jeans and fabric in line with these new, more ambitious guidelines.
So you said there's 100 organizations now redesigning jeans. Can you give us a bit of a background to them and also a few more facts and figures?
Sure. So you're correct, we have 100 participants taking part in this iteration of the project. So that group grew from 2021. And what's a really special feature of the Jeans Redesign and is the case in the first 2 years is that we have players from across the fashion industry taking part. So it's brands and retailers, fabric mills, garment manufacturers, and vertically integrated units, which is where they have the whole production process under one roof. And this group are from over 25 countries globally, which is a really great spread, and we're excited to have a lot of different perspectives and organisations involved in the project. And in terms of hard stats, this time round, brands have been able to bring over 1.5 million pairs of redesigned jeans to the market, which is a threefold increase from the last time, and is really exciting to see. And another really exciting figure is that over a third of these organisations also reported applying these circular design principles to garments beyond jeans. So we're starting to see the uptake of circular design principles in a much broader sense beyond the remit of the Jeans Redesign project.
And Natasha, what have been some of the biggest or the most challenging areas that the participants have revealed through their experience in this project?
It's a great question. I would say at the start, the challenge was that no one knew how to do it. No one was doing it. There had been pockets of progress and innovation. Some people were making jeans with recycled content. Some people were eliminating hazardous chemicals or using organic cotton. But the guidelines were the first opportunity for people to fulfill a number of criteria in the same pair of jeans, which is where the real challenge comes. So beyond that large challenge, we have this group who have now proven that that's possible. But there are still challenges that remain, particularly around producing jeans with stretch. So skinny jeans are still quite tricky to do at the moment. Producing jeans with stretch that remain a high percentage of cellulose-based fibers, which enables them to be recycled, that is really hard. And there aren't a great deal of solutions out there at the moment. Same with regenerative fiber sourcing. That is a big challenge at the moment. So we've seen a lot of progress in these last years, a lot more activity on that front, but it's certainly not available at scale.
You said that the Jeans Redesign project is a starting point for businesses. What do you want to see businesses now doing next?
So I think one of the headline messages from the report is that they've proven this concept. So circular design can become the norm. And we're really excited to be able to say that and bring that message. So what we want to see next is for businesses to follow suit, regardless of whether they're part of the Jeans Redesign. Action's already been taken to apply these circular economy principles to garments that aren't jeans. So we've seen organisations do hats or chinos or jackets. So the learnings are there. It's possible to apply them to other garments. So now just get going and do it.
So Natasha, what's next for the Jeans Redesign project?
I'm glad you asked. So in the report, we have kind of 3 key calls to action for businesses and policymakers to follow. So I would encourage everyone to go and read the report for those key calls to action. In terms of the learnings from the participant group, we again have sort of 3 headline outcomes. One is that circular design can become the norm. So as I was mentioning, the uptake of activity being done by these organisations going beyond just jeans is all really exciting, and it really cements that these practices can become the norm. So for that, it's really for business to get going, take action, get started. The second of which is that based on how organisations performed against the Jeans Redesign guidelines, it's really cemented where the solutions are available and exist already, where the gaps still remain and where there are barriers to scale those, and those are detailed in full in the report as well. And then thirdly, a really big insight that's come from this is that circular products are possible and they're being made, but they're currently entering a linear system. So the next big piece for us is really unlocking that systems change and redesigning the system to allow these products that are fit for a circular economy to enter a circular system.
Thank you, Natasha. So Jeans show us that innovation towards a circular economy is possible and that businesses and brands are on board. However, the challenge now is that we need to move beyond pilots to reach the scale we need to transform the fashion industry.
We've heard a few examples of companies that are working in the Jeans Redesign project, and now we're going to get to hear from a few participants. We sent our colleague Lou, who always gets the cushy jobs, to speak to a handful of them.
Welcome, Esther from PVH. You participated in the Jeans redesign with the Tommy Hilfiger brand. Tell us why.
Well, we thought it was an amazing opportunity, basically, to work together with peer brands on the development, but also the implementation of these kind of circular guidelines, right? Because this stuff is intricate. Like, it's difficult, and if you have to figure out everything by yourself, I think it will take us a long time. So it's a great opportunity, I think, to learn from others while you're discovering how to do it, and also to help contribute.
So we took part in the Jeans Redesign project because for us at ASOS, Be More Circular is one of our goals of our Fashion with Integrity program. So it's a really core strategy to our business. So for us, actually, the Jeans Redesign was that perfect commitment to show that we were accelerating circular design and driving innovation with our peers.
And I think it comes back to bringing something tangible. When you can show someone, here's a physical thing that we can do, that makes it understandable, makes it tangible, and I think inspires people to follow and to change and to motivate them to do better themselves.
And what would you say might have been the main challenges and barriers to putting this into action so far?
We've seen a lot of trade-offs, particularly between durability and recyclability. So really trying to understand how do we work with the requirements around cellulosic content, but maintaining durability.
So for us, when we looked at the Jeans Redesign projects, there were a couple of different processes and materials that we really innovated and learned on the way. Durability was a big focus for us, so looking at how we could create durability testing and a standard that could be rolled out at scale.
I think at the moment the biggest challenge is still that although we can do lots of great work about designing a circular product, we're still designing a circular product in a linear space, in a primarily linear model. So I think our focus now is on how we can start to better adapt the model to support that and to bring it back into kind of a circular model for the future. So I think that's where we've got more to learn, I'd say.
What do you think was the biggest thing you learned?
Well, it sounds maybe a little bit cliche, but I think the biggest thing is that you really cannot do it alone. So you need the collective of the different expertises within your company and your vendors as well to come to the right solutions. And maybe one of the learnings is also that the more complex we make it, the more difficult it is to scale.
I think our biggest takeaway was that communication is key. So whether that was communicating with our suppliers, setting the right expectations, or with the mills, or really kind of engaging our internal staff so that they became ambassadors for the Jeans Redesign project as well. And then finally communicating with our customer. So it was really important that we shared with them what was so great about these new jeans and made sure that we did it in an interactive and engaging way as well.
What we learn is that we can do it, and it's given us the confidence to scale up those principles, to try and understand how we can apply those principles to other product types. So it's really initiated that conversation, and it's given us confidence, I think.
So what do you think you really achieved out of this?
We have an amazing and talented team, and they really looked at how they could apply the circular economy principles to more than just trousers. So we looked at dresses and skirts and jackets and the kind of complete look that we wanted to offer our customers.
Well, we've had a range of achievements across our brands. I think Weekday sticking out particularly, where they joined with 2 pieces in their first pilot collection, and they've just been scaling that season after season. So now they're up to over 60% of their denim assortment is designed using the Jeans Redesign collection.
What the redesign did for us was give us that real tangible first step to kind of bring it to life via product. That's what talks for us as a business, so it was really important.
So we've heard that while jeans might well be the starting point, these design principles are actually being applied across a whole different range of products.
And from the clothes we wear to the buildings we live and work in, let's turn our attention to the built environment. And in the built environment, we actually face a similar set of challenges, from the material choices we make to how we keep those materials in use, and also the buildings they are a part of.
In just a minute, we're going to hear from our very own Nick Jeffries as we put the big questions to him. But first, let's watch a video made by Arup all about their Circular Buildings Toolkit.
The world has woken up to the climate crisis, the effects of which are already being felt. One of the largest contributors is the built environment. To realise a net zero and nature-positive future, the building industry needs to reduce the impact its demand for products and materials is having on the planet. The circular economy is critical to achieving net zero, as well as reducing the use of virgin materials, capturing long-term value, increasing resilience, reducing waste, and creating new economic opportunities. So, how can we realise the benefits that the circular economy has to offer? A framework built around 4 principles is designed to help the building industry tackle global challenges at every stage of a project's lifespan. Build only what you need. Do we need a brand new building? Instead, we can reuse, adapt, or transform existing buildings to meet future needs. Quay Quarter Tower in Sydney was built around an existing core, retaining 68% of the original structure, reducing the requirement for new materials, which saved 12,000 tonnes of carbon and $130 million. Build with the right materials. When we do build, we should use renewable, bio-based materials, or those with a lower embodied carbon. We should track and set targets around material use, collecting data through material passports, which allow them to be recovered and reused in the future. Build efficiently. There are opportunities to save carbon and cut waste with every decision, no matter how small. Designers for One Triton Square in London adopted a marginal gains approach, analysing every system and component to maximise performance, resulting in a saving of 40,000 tonnes of carbon and a 43% reduction in costs. Build for long-term value. Buildings don't last forever, but their parts can be reused. Brummen Town Hall in the Netherlands was designed to be dismantled after 20 years. Selecting prefabricated timber components and avoiding difficult-to-recycle materials allowed for 90% of the original building to be reused, turning it into a material bank for the construction of future buildings. The building industry needs to adopt a circular mindset across the entire project lifespan. Through strong leadership, collaboration, innovative circular business models, and digital technology, we can transform the industry and achieve a net zero and nature-positive future. Search for the Circular Buildings Toolkit.
So that was Arup and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's film about the Circular Building Toolkit. So welcome to the studio, Nick. I loved watching that film. It seems like the Circular Building Toolkit, it's a very powerful tool to reduce our carbon emissions and save money at the same time. Is that right?
That is right. And yeah, and just first, thank you. It's great to be back in the studio, and I really am pleased that you like the film. And yeah, the Circular Building Toolkit, which was co-created by EMF and our built environment partner, Arup, I think it did a very good job of taking 2 of the key circular economy principles and translating them into 4 very practical design strategies for the built environment. And key to it is about the reduction of virgin materials, which translates into emissions, because as the audience may know, half the climate challenge is about energy and half is about materials. And so circular economy is crucial for addressing that other half. But let's just make one point about the 4 design strategies. In my view, we should prioritise the strategies that avoid emissions now. So the first strategy, which is about avoiding demolition, and the third strategy, which is about building with the right materials, they have the potential to avoid emissions now. Whereas building for longevity and the other, and building efficiently is about emissions that are avoided in the future. So I just want to make that point.
Yeah, it's a good point. There's a lot of buildings to still be built right now. Exactly. But you mentioned 2 principles of the circular economy are covered by the toolkit. What about the third principle?
Yeah, well spotted. So the third principle, regenerate nature. Perhaps it's not intuitive to people how the built environment can do that. But if you think about, well, firstly, one way is about sourcing materials. So if you use more bio-based materials in the buildings, you can source in a regenerative way. But also, a building occupies a space. And if that building wasn't there, there would be a wildland. There would be a meadow or a forest. The meadow or forest provides ecosystem services, such as cleaning air, cycling water, providing habitats for wildlife. Now, a building could potentially do that as well. Yeah, and there's plenty of examples. For example, on the air quality example, Venlo City Hall in the Netherlands that actually cleans the air around it through its green facade. The Bank of America in New York that has a HVAC, a ventilation system that draws air from the city of New York, cleans it, and then exhales it.
There's one in Paris I've seen.
There's one in Paris as well, one in Milan. But air quality, but also carbon sequestration. So there's a company in California called Blue Planet Systems that has designed a concrete mix that actually is a bit like coral reefs, that actually draws carbon dioxide down, fixes it in the aggregate, and therefore creates a carbon positive or carbon sequestering concrete, a bit like a coral reef, as I said.
And Nick, some of these fantastic examples that you're sharing are examples from the global north as well. So is this happening also in the global south? Are we seeing examples of this?
Well, that's a very good question, because in the next 30 years, if you look at to 2050 in a city like Lagos, 80% of the buildings that will be there in 2050 have yet to be built. And it's actually flipped in Europe. 80% of the buildings that are already there. 2050. So it's very important to look to those kind of contexts about what can be done. Now, for high-rise buildings, we're still going to need things like concrete and steel, because you need to get that density and that 15-minute city idea. You need high-rise. So we need things like low carbon concrete, like I mentioned. But there's other concrete and steel innovations that greatly reduce the carbon emitted in the process. But I think the very interesting sort of innovation area is in this sort of lower rise buildings. So anything below about 20 stories, there's a skyscraper in Norway that's just been completed, which is all timber. It's in a place called Brumunddal. There's a hotel in Cape Town that's built out of hemp. It's called hempcrete. So it's basically hemp stalks that's blended with lime mortar.
Seems like an amazing material, hemp.
Hemp, yeah, hemp. You can food, clothes, and now construction materials. But one of my favourite innovation or startups I've come across recently is it's a company called Oxara, and they've taken earth or dirt, and they've blended it with this admixture, which is a sort of mineral admixture, non-toxic, and they've created a material that basically performs like concrete. And I think this points to a really important thing, which is that we need a new vernacular. A vernacular means we need material, we need buildings that are constructed using locally available materials, yeah, which is what we've been doing for thousands of years. But now there's this sort of like international concrete, steel, glass. That points to modernity. But actually, maybe the sort of in the future, this new vernacular will be more timber, more earth, more bamboo, and in that way we can sort of build out these cities, but in a way that doesn't destroy the planet.
I like that vision of, as you spelled it out there. Nick, I know you've got lots more examples, but we don't have enough time to go through them all. So thanks very much for joining us in the studio today. So in both jeans and buildings, there's a significant design opportunity. It comes down to the materials that we use, the business models that we build around them, and of course the systems that we have in place. There are signs of progress in both areas, but of course, there's still plenty to do.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Circular Economy Show. Remember, we're always happy to hear your comments and questions, so please use the hashtag AskTheCEShow. And if you want to stay up to date with the show, follow the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's social media channels. See you next time!